thanks kind of for our, what we call our second session, more of a state and federal feel to it, and appreciate all of you joining us for UNK's and the Chamber here in Kearney for our partnership that we've gathered this virtual roundtable, and hopefully everybody that's listening in has gotten some good information so far. Don't forget you can email any questions in at any time, and this is also being recorded, so we'll send out a recording from the Chamber, and I know UNK will as well, so that'll be available for anybody if you can't be on for the whole hour and a half, 2 hours, however long this takes. But with that, we're going to start with Leon. Leon is the Nebraska District Director of the SBA, and Leon, we'll give it over to you. Give us some insight from the Small Business Administration.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Odie Ingersoll for doing a good review of the programs that we have out there. One of the things that's important to note that as we go forward, there are going to be some additional changes in the program. For the public, one of the things I suggest that you go to sba.gov, and we have all of our programs there on site. So to speak, you could go ahead and download the applications and collect most of the information that you need to know to prepare for the application process. One of the things I'm suggesting that everybody do is the information that we need for both of the loan programs is almost identical, even though there are different requirements or standards, I should say, regarding the application process versus the COVID-19 EIDL loan versus the PPP loan. One of the things we suggest that you sit down with your accountant because or the Nebraska Business Development Center and see which one is to your advantage. Both of them have advantages depending on your particular situation. If you're a much larger company, we're running a number of them who have more than 500 employees that also qualify. The PPP is going to be a better deal. One of the things that we've seen is, we're looking at deferments when things are going to go ahead and you have to make your first payment. All of this is very important, and across the programs, they're very, very similar. The interest rates for the EIDL loan is, as Odie indicated, 3.75% and 2.75% for nonprofits. All of this is important information that everyone should go ahead and look at and consider. The other thing about the EIDL loan is the 30-year payment. That's what you're looking at. Part of it is Odie also indicated that there's a $10,000 forgiveness on the EIDL loan for use of proceeds regarding employees. That's another important part. We're going to look at a variety of things when you apply to the EIDL loan, and that is on the SBA.gov, and it lists all of the disaster loans there. You have to apply for there, where we've updated the website over the weekend, and it is extremely fast. We went to a third party. If you have questions, there is a phone number which we've upped the number of individuals that can answer the phone for us, but also you could go ahead and after you apply and all of that, you could go ahead and check on your application. There's a way to go ahead and see where the application is in process. We're hoping after the application is approved that at that point, and that's why we ask for routing numbers for your checking account or bank account, we're hoping that at that point you will, the Treasury will process within 5 to 7 days, and that money will hit your account. What are the other things on the PPP? We're telling everyone we have on the Nebraska Bankers Association website, and we've also sent them the same list to Anita, that if you're looking for lenders that can process SBA loans for the PPP, we're telling everybody, stay with the bankers that you know, that have you work with, and contact them. We realize that there are 2 time frames. The process opens up tomorrow. Tomorrow, I should say the 3rd, Friday the 3rd, for the applications and all that. I suggest you making getting all your information ready, so when you meet your lender, or if you downloaded the application, that you have it ready to go ahead and provide to the lender. One other thing is documentation. As Odie again said, you were going to require documentation and proof that you actually spent the money, as you said. This is not for any business expansion. This is as a working capital that covers all of the aspects that are covered in the documentation and all of that. We're receiving a tremendous amount of phone calls and all of that from lenders and from individuals. One thing that it may be asked on, if any particular business is receiving a grant, a local grant and all of that, some of that, and depending on the program, an EIDL program, that money will be reduced, the amount of money that they can obtain from us. That is one of the aspects that has happened before. We're suggesting that any lender or business have a question that they can't get answered, to please call our district office at 402-221-4691, which is our general SB office number. One of the things that we sent out last night also, we've gotten some clarity. Those businesses that have a previous disaster loan or previous EIDL loan can apply for the payroll protection, and since the previous EIDL loan, that is previous to this disaster declaration, can receive assistance under the PPP program. One of the other things, for if you have an outstanding SBA guarantee loan, that could be a 7A, 504, or even a micro loan through our program, we are going to go have the principal and interest for 6 months to help businesses that have been impacted by this. This is going to be somewhat of an automated process. We will pay the lender what is due on these loans, as long as the loans have been current and there's been no other disruption in payments and that. I don't want to go over any of the other stuff that Odie has currently covered. Yes, the EIDL loan is good for $2 million. The PPP is up to $10 million. Yes, this money should be used to go ahead and retain employees. And if there's any question, one of the things we've got is some people have seasonal employees. Like the accounting firms, most people will not realize that the first part of the year, they can go ahead and make that calculation based on the seasonal aspect of their business too. So, because that's when they typically hire for the season. Next to our office here in Omaha, we have an accounting firm, and he's basing his as he's telling some of his other people that he has the seasonal business, you can make the calculation based on that. That is one of the other things that's in the regulations and all of that. One of the other things I'm telling everyone, there's no fees to the borrower. It's 100% guaranteed. This is for the PPP. It's 0.5%. It's the loan is for 2 years. The payment won't start until January 1st of 2021. That between what Odie has covered and I have just discussed, I think we've covered it pretty well. Anybody have any questions, feel free to call me or our office. We are very happy that we were able to roll this program out as quickly. We engaged the private sector for updating some of our software and our ability to take additional phone calls. This is unprecedented in our agency's history. We have what amounts to only a few short months to go ahead and loan out $350 billion. Usually, on an annual basis, we only loan out about 40 billion. So, we're looking at almost 9 times what we do in a year. With that, I'm always open to questions. If we have any reporters are on, feel free to go ahead and call me. We can provide some additional information. We just send out some additional information to lenders, and there'll probably be more before the end of the week to clarify various aspects of the application process that may come up. With that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks so much, Leon. That was a lot of information. Could you repeat that phone number that you gave us?
Yeah, it's our general office number, 402-221-4691. And you'll get a real live person. They answer the phone. We're taking calls. So much of what we see is so individualized. We're seeing individual companies that own multiple franchises that go over the 500 employee. They qualify. Independent contractors qualify. We've had a number of construction companies that have called us. They're eligible. If you own real estate and your customers cannot pay you, I suggest sitting down with your accountant and you qualify. 501c3s qualify. We've had a tremendous impact on the nonprofit organization. I've provided quite a bit of, we've private use and they impacted because of no students, they have housing, but there's no one in the housing, and the students been refunded. So we're seeing a whole variety of unusual circumstances that we're going ahead and try to go ahead and cover under this program. The PPP is fairly, we're not asking for a lot of documentation, but we need documentation on your current expenses.
Okay, great. I did have a question that came in through email here in regard to the PPP, which is the Payment Protection Program. Amy asks what expenses are eligible for in the EIDL, and she knows that you cannot double dip between the two programs for the same expenses. So what other expenses are allowed through EIDL, which might not be available to pay with the PPP funds?
They're almost identical. There's, that's the thing. That's why I suggest sitting down with your accountant or someone to go ahead and look at both programs and all of that. We're still looking at payroll costs. We're looking at insurance. We're looking at the costs to go ahead and for your mortgage, your rent expense, things like that are all laid out in the guidelines. So the requirements on the EIDL loan, we're looking at the size standards typically will fall in. Is there credit elsewhere? There's a variety of other things we ask for that are a little more hurdles under the EIDL loan program. One of the things I'm telling them, we do not run out of disaster money. We just go back to Congress and they will give us more disaster money on our EIDL program. The other program, the PPP, they've only given us 350 million billion, excuse me, at this point. I'm not used to saying the billion, it's something new. But that is a good question. Almost all of them, I should say, both of them are almost identical in that. What is forgiven is different. One opens up the standards so much more in less detail, and you could see that by just the application process, all of that.
Okay, great. And for those of you who are, Leon suggested that you get with your tax accountant or your bookkeeper and sit down and discuss this. Don't sit down, virtually sit down and discuss all of this, and then contact the SBA to see which program fits you the best. If any of you are having trouble with making those virtual meetings or anything, I know one of the questions we had come in through the survey was how to set up digital meetings. Feel free to reach out to us and we can help you identify a couple different programs that you can use to set up those virtual meetings. One other quick SBA question, and then I have a question for Derek at the chamber. So we have Brian who asked, if there is any suggestions on how to get a response. He said that he has been locked out of the SBA CAPS website for over 30 hours and has not been able to get a response. Do you have any suggestions for that, Leon or Odie?
Which website is this?
SBA CAPS website?
I'm not familiar. SBA.gov. We've got the for the one for the EIDL loan. Why don't he contact our office and
Okay.
and see what we can do if he's being locked out. If it is a password problem or is a denial of service, we should not have any denial of service. Our application website for the EIDL loan, we can do 2,000 applications a second. 4 hours, we can do the whole country.
Wow.
So,
okay. And yes, again, that number is 402-221-4691. And we will put that over in the chat panel in just a moment. And Judy from Pro Printing in North Platte asked if our chat notes will be available after this meeting. And Elise, I think that we are able to do that. So we will try to capture all that information and include it in our follow-up email and put it onto the website. So Derek at the Chamber, we did have a question back to Amy. She asked, how were the awardees contacted if they were one of the $42,000, one of the people who were awarded?
Right, so she's referring to our care fund that we set up.
Yes.
We're either paying people PayPal or we're doing a check disbursement. We are not going through a process to contact people. We just don't have the time and energy because we're waiving all of our fees. The foundation has waived their fees as well. And so if you should receive a check within 4 to 5 days or get paid via PayPal even sooner than that, if you do have any questions, you can email me or call me, and my information is on our website. And they do get an automated email right when they do the form, and so my contact information is there. But to streamline the process and to help with manpower, we're not contacting every single person. You know, we just can't do the 700 plus applicants right now, but yep. Well, I think that's it for right now. So we're going to move on. We've got United States Congressman Adrian Smith and his Deputy Chief of Staff, Josh Jackson, and I imagine you guys can kind of tag team some stuff. We do understand that there's some overlap, but that's okay. Getting information more than once is not a bad thing, and different perspectives, and that's why we have a great team in front of us for this roundtable. So, Congressman, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Derek, and thank you to the entire panel. I really appreciate this opportunity, and that you would put all of these resources together. I think is especially helpful to folks out on the front lines of the economy. I'm here in Gearing at our house, and so this technology obviously is great. I wish we didn't have to have the occasion for this meeting, but the fact of the matter is we're here, and we need to deal with it. And I think it's important to note that in Congress, House and Senate, obviously we've done the three phases so far, and the first one being resources and flexibility for federal agencies to address this crisis. The second was designed to help the employers provide leave for employees, and then, as you know, the even higher profile package passed last week with the primary goals of helping employers stay open with employees' needs in mind as well, and payroll, and helping folks who might be laid off or furloughed, excuse me, as well. A high priority has been to keep people in their jobs. And as you know, we went from a labor shortage just a few weeks ago to this current situation with record numbers of folks filing for unemployment. I think that having been in such a strong position prior to the virus spreading, I think that can help us recover here down the road. Hopefully not too long, but the more seriously everyone takes it, obviously the better off everyone will be. A lot of what you've already discussed, I don't want to repeat, but certainly please know that my staff and I, we are available for assistance if you have questions. I know there are a lot of unique scenarios among employers out across the Nebraska economy. And so, I think the strength of the SBA part of this is that the resources in these loans are available through a lender, through lenders that these businesses are used to and are familiar with. I think that is a strength of the program. But a lot of independent contractors with their unique scenarios will find themselves, I think, being helped with what we've done out of Congress. So I know there's some speculation in terms of what is next. It's very loose right now. I think that I think it's important to note that now is not the time to overreach and to try to do too many things unrelated to COVID-19. So, but I look forward to hearing from businesses out on the front lines, and Derek, certainly you and your members as to the needs moving forward. I know that there's talk about phase 4 perhaps possibly being infrastructure. That remains to be seen. I don't want to get expectations up there too far, but I certainly look forward to feedback from folks all across the economy. So thank you for including me. I'll stay on as long as I can, and look forward to hearing more dialogue. Thank you.
Josh, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add. The Congressman's been working around the clock 7 days a week trying to make sure folks can connect with these programs now that we've got them locked in. The Congressman staff, we've all been connecting with folks. And I mean, really, we want to just make it as easy as possible for folks to engage with these programs, wherever it is, if it's the SBA programs, if it's programs through the IRS. I know we have some air-related things in Nebraska. We're working to get those folks connected with those programs, and we want our hospitals and our healthcare providers to connect with those programs in the bill. Really, I'm going to stay on the line. If there are unanswered questions, we want to get people answers. If you're having trouble connecting with an agency for whatever reason to apply to get an answer to a question that we don't have, please contact the Congressman's office, and he and all of us on the staff are fully engaged with trying to make sure folks can fully take advantage of these programs and make sure we can keep people on their jobs wherever possible.
Awesome. Thanks, Congressman and Josh. We appreciate you guys being on. Without further ado, we're going to go to Mr. Tom Sullivan. He's the Vice President of the Small Business Policy for the United States Chamber of Commerce. Tom's a good buddy of mine. I met him in Tucson at a conference. Thanks so much, Tom, for being on with us today and waiting to hear you share. So I'll turn over to you.
Derek, it's great to see you, although it stinks that we interact in the toughest of circumstances. I know that your community has suffered through terrible disasters last year, and now we're right in the middle of the coronavirus. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at some other chamber conferences in better circumstances. So thank you for having me on board. I listened closely to Leon and was so grateful that he provided information for your small businesses, Derek, on how to get economic injury disaster loans, as well as the paycheck protection loans that will start being rolled out this Friday. At the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, we're operating on a pretty simple principle. That principle is no family and no business should be bankrupted by the economic disruption that's going on through the coronavirus. So it was great to work with the Congressman and colleagues in Congress to pass 3 laws in 3 weeks. Now we've shifted gears into how do we implement this legislation. So we're trying to get the information out as broadly as we can. What keeps me up at night is the possibility that a small business would shutter because they didn't know what federal resources were available. And thanks to you, Derek, and thousands of other chambers across the country, we're confident that that won't happen. to cut to the chase about what is the most valuable piece of information in all this, we've put kind of the dummy's guide for getting a small business loan together, something that I would understand. And we're trying to use that resource to help small businesses. It's available at uschamber.com/SB loans. Again, it's uschamber.com/SB loans. And we're hopeful that helps more small businesses access these loans. And we're right there with you, Derek, shoulder to shoulder, to try to help Main Streets across the country get through this pandemic. With that, I'll actually, if it's okay, like to pause and take questions. We've received thousands and thousands and thousands of questions, and we're able to use the experience from so many different chambers and so many small businesses to answer them. I'd love to see what questions folks have.
Great, Tom. I do have a few more questions, and I don't know if you want to chime in on this. A lot of them have to do with the emergency funds and the PPP. Steve asks about the 8-week period. He said that it's, it begins retroactively beginning February 15th. Is that correct? And can our 8-week period begin from February 15th?
So thank you for that question. It's my understanding that folks have to be employed. So you have to be in existence on February 15th. It's my understanding that 8-week time period starts when you get the PPP loan. And then the 8-week period, that's when you go back to your bank and you say, this is how we use that loan. And depending on how you've used it, same way that Leon described it, then you get that loan forgiven. So that 8-week time period is from the time you get the loan to the time you have that other conversation with your lender to say, this is how I spent it. Now I'd like for that loan to be forgiven.
And is there any way that they can ensure that forgiveness before the funds are gone?
Well, no, verify how they were spent, and then forgive that portion. So, I mean, small businesses do a great job of keeping their books and not commingling. I think right now you've got to be so precise about how you spend the SBA idle loan, paycheck program loan. You're not allowed to commingle. And the banks are going to be relying on small business in order to do what both the banks and the small business want.
Okay, great advice. And I believe that our Chamber of Commerce, Derek, you have some resources on your some directives of how to keep some of those records, how to track some of those things, so that you can have a good resource to go back to when working with your bank, correct?
So we've actually shared what Tom was talking about, that document with the loans and how that breaks down. So we've shared that on our website. So yeah, if you go to the kearneycoc.org/COVID-19, go down to business resources. We've got anything from local, state, federal, just lots of different resources for people to look at. It's all credible, relevant information. We've also been emailing out some separate things to help maybe our banks, or there was a thing that was more specific towards photographers. It was a guy doing a video. So we've been trying to share that out to our members and really trying to work hard for them. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that site. It's got a lot of good resources. We'll probably try to figure out a way to put this Zoom recording too, so it's available for just people to click on and kind of review too. It's well worth your 90 minutes of time for sure.
Yeah. And I think Denise at the Buffalo County Community Partners, she asked a question regarding the PPD and the EIDL loans and whether they can be used for different purposes. I think that we have covered that. I think Leon spoke to that really well. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that, Leon?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. So can
okay.
for both loans?
Well, you know, one of the things they say, no, you can't actually apply for, you can apply for both loans, but you don't have to take both of the loans. One of the things most people that we tell, I have worked on disaster loans myself. This comes from experience. You know, you get to the end and you may realize that, okay, if you apply for both loans, one is going to be so much quicker, so you're going to have to make that decision. That's why we suggest that you look at it from the accounting point and the forgiveness aspect. One has a forgiveness, and you're looking at the term different. One is a 30-year loan, one is a 2-year loan. One has more forgiveness. If you're a little bit larger company, the PPP is a much better program, and the amount of information that we ask regarding credit elsewhere, and there's a variety of other things that we typically will go into on the EIDL loan. We don't ask that on the PPP loan, and all of this is kind of laid out in both of the programs in the application process. The thing is, you know, one may have much better benefits, and how quickly you receive the money. We're looking at 24-hour turnaround once the bank submits that application to us for the PPP loan. So, and then it's up to the bank how quickly they can go ahead and get the money into your hands. So, you know, we always talk to is speed to money. You know, and how fast you get the money in the business's hand, that can make a difference if you've got bills that are due and you put off certain things. So that's the other aspect. EIDL loan is going to take a little bit longer. That's the other thing, because again, we've got millions of applicants that are applying. So you got to look at both. At the end of the day, you could take one or the other. And that's what's important. One or the other, they have different benefits, so to speak.
Okay, great. And Denise, if you have more questions on that, you can reach out to SBA or to Odie Ingersoll at the Kearney, on the Kearney campus at NBDC, and we'll share all that contact information. So those are all the questions I have right now via email, Derek. So
sure. One question, basically every business can apply for both those loans except for the 501c6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, we do not have any. Oh, sorry. We don't have any information on 501c6 yet.
They can do that $10,000 one though? What's the disaster
no.
loan?
No, there's no, it's got a, at this time, one of the things we're running into with some of the nonprofits, since we do not have information, we're suggesting that you contact the disaster question. There's the email address, and ask them if they would qualify. That would speed up the process. I tell you, rather than going through all the paperwork under the EIDL loan program and all of that, there are certain restrictions on what for-profits that we could go ahead and fund and all of that. So,
Tom,
when it comes to trade,
yeah, actually, I think this is the benefit of Derek, of you getting such a good group together. I mean, you've got the congressman's office on the line. You know, it's our understanding, and after talking with Chairman Rubio, who chairs the Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, it's our understanding that 501c6s are able to avail themselves of SBA's EIDL program. So the sooner that Leon's hands are untied to say yes, the better off we all are. They are not eligible to apply under the Paycheck Protection Program. And then we are going to be working with Speaker Pelosi to make sure that that is corrected in if Congress takes up a fourth stimulus.
Yeah. This is Leon. Tom, that's right. You know, I'm dealing with guidance that we've actually been provided, and when we do have questions, that's why we suggest that, you know, they send that question. That question goes in rather than may pursue it. You know, organizations like yourself, that just helps us that much, and so that way we can answer all of the lenders' questions in terms of processing. So yes, it's great to have this group together, try to get all that information out Again, Tom, thanks for what you are doing to help us along this path.
Well, Leon, you guys are great. You've got several hundred of your colleagues across the country that are on the front lines trying to help Derek and his members. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That brings some clarity, because like our chamber obviously is a 501c6, and then our Visitors Bureau, which relies on, the hospitality district, which got hit hard last year with our flooding, and now is getting hit with this one with the COVID-19. It's not good. And we've had a lot of, our big event with we have a crane migration in Kearney, for those of you that do not know. And that brings a lot of money, along with just a lot of conventions and events. I mean, we host, I think, average 3 events a day here in Kearney. We have a large convention center with a lot of different hotels that have space, and is definitely hurting them. So any kind of relief for a 501c6 is huge. Our chamber is going to survive, but our Visitors Bureau is definitely hurting. So we're gonna move on, and then if anybody else has anything kind of to close out, we'll definitely do that. But we've got our Senator, Mr. John Lowe, with us today. He's the Senator of the District 37 here in serving the Kearney area. And Senator, before you begin, I just want to say thanks for your updates. I've seen them on Facebook, and you've definitely been present where you have a little bit of a break, obviously, with the legislator being paused right now. But thanks for all you're doing for the Buffalo County Kearney community.
It's always great to be back in Kearney, because Kearney is such a great community. I think we have to remember that the restaurants and the bars and the small mom and pops, they're going to be truly affected by this. And we appreciate the federal government stepping in and assisting with what they have. But at the very end, once all this is over with, we're still going to be 5 to 6 feet apart when we go back to the restaurants. We're not going to be sitting back to back like we were before, and that will have some effect on the businesses going forward. So I really worry if the seating capacity of restaurants is going to change, if they can actually stay afloat. But in the middle of March, we decided to call it quits with the legislature, and for safety reasons for everybody, because half of us are in that age group that could be susceptible to this COVID virus. The Speaker Scheer called us back a week later to pass emergency funding bill, which was another bill, LB 1198, was to refurbish the front doors of the George W. Norris legislative floor. We stripped out the original language and put in the amendment from Senator Stenner, 2976, which was a $53 million, $619,000 emergency funding bill for the virus. And most of that went to the Department of Health and Human Services and the University of Nebraska Medical Center to fund the research and new machinery to process all these tests that are going to be happening. I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Kearney Community Foundation for starting up the Kearney Area Employee Emergency Relief Fund. That helps the local people, stay in the market for a little bit longer. Getting that money to these individuals as soon as possible is very key. They're the ones with the small children at home that actually do need the money. And I'd like to encourage all the businesses in town and the local business people to donate to that fund, because it needs to be kept going. They actually do need the money. I'll try to keep everybody updated on my Facebook page the way I have been doing. It's kind of hard to get out and talk to people with all this social distancing going on, which we need to be doing at this time. We don't want to spread the virus any faster than it is, and it will spread. And I believe the mayor said that they kind of expect the peak in our area to be in 2 to 3 weeks. So we have some time to deal with this. But let's just keep everybody safe and safe distance and practice what we always should have been doing before by washing our hands regularly and just staying a distance. I sure miss the handshakes. I sure miss the attaboys when they come and pat your back. But let's do what we need to do at this time.
Thanks, Senator Lowe. Appreciate your time this morning, and we'll be in touch for sure. I do have a question that came in. I've got a restaurant owner asking, would you ask if the business can decide when the 8-week period starts? Anybody want to chime in on that one?
You know, I don't have a good answer for that at this time. I think it'll be the call from either the governor or the federal government.
Hey, Derek, I could take that. So that's going to be the conversation that they have with their banker who is offering the Paycheck Protection Program loans. It's Congress meant for it to be the 8 weeks after they get the loan, but since the lender is going to be the one that is going to be saying, here's what we can lend you and here's what will be forgiven at the end of 8 weeks, it's that discussion between the small business owner and the lender that is going to answer that question.
Okay. Thank you, that makes sense. So basically talk to your lender, businesses, 8-week periods probably will start once you get the loan, but there may be some flexibility. Is that kind of what we're thinking? Okay, I got a head nod, so very good.
And Derek, I would add one other thing to that. The forgiveness on those loans depends on keeping payroll in place, and so the timing of what you think your workforce is going to look like over the next couple of months is going to affect when you really want that 8-week period to be. So that's another one, sitting down with your accountants to take a look at what you think your workforce requirements may be. And I realize for a lot of businesses, not knowing how long this is going to last, it's hard to project that, but that is going to be also a key point.
This is Leon Milobar again. One of the things that some of these same questions, if you go to the SBA.gov website for the PVP, the questions are answered then. There is a particular form that says Paycheck Protection Program information sheet for borrowers, and it does lay out what the 8 weeks and what the guidance we are giving our lenders also.
And I believe that we'll be sharing that document as well following the call. So Derek, I believe, was that question from Mike Anderson with Cunningham's?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Because we got the same question. I just want to make sure we got it covered for him. So I did also we have brought somebody else on here as a panelist. Mr. Chuck Beck is also with the Nebraska Business Development Center. And I think Chuck is going to talk a little bit about some programs that might be helpful for some pivots with businesses. Chuck, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate being on today, and great job to you and Elise and Derek and the folks at the Chamber in facilitating this morning's virtual business roundtable. So the Nebraska Business Development Center offers a variety of programs. Obviously, you'd heard from Odie a little bit earlier. Our Procurement Technical Assistance Center serves as a resource to companies that are interested in contracting with government agencies. And we provide resources like helping with government registrations, helping companies identify opportunities and develop strategies to engage with government agencies. So that's kind of what we do on a normal day-to-day. During the COVID-19 situation, however, our focus, or at least the focus in my office, has changed a little bit. We've been helping connect companies to government agencies in an effort to bring resources to the government in dealing with the pandemic. And so I've had the opportunity to really coordinate efforts with Nebraska businesses, and helping put them in touch with folks at the federal level in a lot of cases, with resources, technologies that they may have to help deal with the pandemic. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of talk about that. If businesses do have resources that they think would be helpful to the government, I would definitely love to visit with them. They could call me at 308-865-8244. Again, that's 308-865-8244. Or they could also email me, and Lisa, if you wouldn't mind just kind of putting my contact information as well, I would appreciate that if you wanted to just pop my email address in there as well.
Yeah, we can for sure do that. So any other questions that we have? We don't have any more on email right now. Do any of the other panelists have any additional information that they would like to toss out there or share?
Can I just add one thing? There's been a lot of talk about making sure not to double dip between the various SBA programs today on the call. Maybe this was covered in the first half hour before I hopped on. There are also a couple of tax programs in there for employers in terms of the employee retention credit and being able to defer payroll taxes for 2020 into 2021 and 2022. You just want to be careful not to double dip between those tax programs and the SBA programs as well. That's another thing to watch out for that I haven't heard touched on.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to just let everyone know that, for example, I just got an update from a business kind of industry-wide, kind of a status and state of the industry. That's very helpful to me moving forward. That can help me keep tabs on exactly what is happening. Obviously, with all of the media and information and so forth that's out there, I want to get as accurate picture as possible. So for those of you participating and would have the time to just give me and my team an update on what is actually happening in your industry would be very helpful. So feel free to let us know. My website is adriansmith.house.gov. Feel free to get on there and to fire us an email that way. I certainly look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, I have one other question that just came in, and this, Leon, you may be the person it's directed to, but this is Steve again asking. He just wanted to clarify, a couple of bankers have informed him that he should be careful not to think the forgiveness may happen with the PPP because the funds can run out once the $350 billion is used. Is this true?
Well, here's one of the things. Once that loan is made, we basically reduce the amount that is, again, available to lend. So we actually, that money is set aside, is what we do.
Okay. And Steve, I would encourage you to also reach out to the SBA. Their number's in the chat window there, 402-221-4691, if you have additional questions on that. And also,
so yeah, one of the things we'll tell everyone, we obligate that money once that loan is made, you know, with the understanding that that everything is going to go right, and we're going to go ahead and do that loan forgiveness. That's the typical procedure when a loan is made.
so the loan forgiveness is reserved. That amount is reserved. That's
correct. We put that in reserve.
Great.
If anything, that highlights the importance of getting in the door early to get your loan.
Yeah.
Correct. I agree.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to offer up?
This is Brian. One thing I know that at State Chamber, as we do a lot of these kinds of conferences, one of the things we're most concerned about is there's a lot of small businesses out there that have not had access to a web seminar like this or gotten this information. You've got such a great group of experts locally there and a great chamber there. It's important that everybody who did participate in this also share the links to this broadcast to their friends in the small business community, because I do worry we're just touching the tip of the iceberg, and we do need to get this information out. So whatever you can do to pass this along to your friends in the small business community, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And also reach out to me, to our center. We're happy to do those individual Zoom meetings or phone calls with you to help you see what you might be able to do during these times, how you might also be able to do some of those pivots like Chuck talked about. We're seeing a lot of businesses that maybe manufacture one thing and they are trying to adapt to manufacture something that's needed right now during this crisis. And we're also helping businesses with, this is a great time for small business owners to amp up their social media, to update their websites, to really engage with their customers in that online format. And we can help you with some of those suggestions and some of those resources. And I know that Derek at the Chamber, his office is there to help their members do the same thing. And so please reach out to us, because we want to help you and we want to all make it through this together and have our economy impacted as little as possible. So Derek, anything else?
Yeah, I would say that, Brian, to kind of answer your question, I was planning on putting this out to our Nebraska Chamber of Commerce executives, that NCCE group that we're all a part of. And so I'll make sure that they have the recording. I do have kind of one question. I'm not sure if it's more of a banker question probably, but I know in the section 1102 of that PPP, if you go down to G, there's the borrower's requirements. And in law, it says pretty black and white, here's the requirements. Are lenders going to be, I guess, if they require more, is that even necessary? Are they going to be kind of informed, or, I don't know, for lack of better words, persuaded to say, hey, here's the requirements, we're trying to streamline this? And is that how the banks are going to be and the lenders are going to be kind of told to just look at that section G of that PPP program? Do you guys know?
I do. Derek, thank you for that question. I mean, that's the other part of this whole process where we've recognized the heroes, whether it be the chambers of commerce like you, or the members of Congress, or the SBA officials. There's another whole group of heroes out there, and there are bankers. The terms that Treasury put out just yesterday are extremely attractive to bankers. It's 0.5% fixed rate for a 2-year term. And there are fees that the banks are able to recoup. And no one really wants Main Street to recover quicker than our community banks and banks all across the country. So they have to enter into, if they're not already an SBA lender, they have to enter into a contract with SBA. They're finalizing those documents right now. And I've seen drafts of those agreements, and all of the encouragement is to make the process as simplified and easy as possible. So I'm confident that you're going to be looking at a broad interpretation, not a narrow interpretation, because the banks have the full backing of Jovita Carranza, Secretary Mnuchin, and the chair of the Fed, Jay Powell. So many times that's all it takes for a banker to be able to say, yes, I can make this loan, and then follow up very quickly, as Leon had said, to get that money into the hands of small business owners so they can survive.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. That makes sense. Leon, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, this is Leon again. We sent out guidance last night and some more additional guidance this morning to all of our lenders on what they are required to go ahead and do. And we've been in contact with a number of banks who did not know they already had an agreement with us. And I've already signed some documents for lenders and credit unions that had that wished to become a part of the program. So, you know, as we told all of our lenders, to the Bankers Association and all that, to stay tuned. As we see how the requests come in, we may provide additional guidance to take care of issues that were unforeseen when we rolled out this program.
Thanks, Leon.
Thanks.
Well, do we have anything else? Any kind of closing statements by anybody? Otherwise, we will get logged off and get back to our emails that have piled up, I'm assuming.
Thank you, Derek.
Well, hey, just on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, on behalf of UNK and Lisa and your team, thank you everyone for taking time. I know you guys are extremely busy and have probably, like I said, piled up emails and texts and other things that got piled up between this, 92-hour call, but we really appreciate it. It's going to help our community, help obviously Kearney, but we're going to help the great state of Nebraska as well, and we're all going to get through this together. So we'll share this. Again, just appreciate all of you guys' time and expertise being on the call today.